Stefan, how you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
I'm really enjoying the show. I'm going to begin. I mean, I was just wondering because when you're an actor, I just wondered. Obviously, it's always key and it's always good to like the character you play, but that must have been quite hard at times here. He pushes you. I imagine. I mean, he pushes the viewer to the limit. He must have pushed you to the limit as well sometimes because he's not always the nicest of blokes.
No, that is what I loved about him, though. Like for me, like I love that he's such a roller coaster of emotions, and he's such an explosive personality. It's so ironic to me that as he's a baby face in the ring, outside he's not the greatest guy. And ironically, I think that over time, if he comes to terms with becoming a heel, he'll probably be a better guy, outside of the ring. And the truth is that what I loved about him, I've always wanted to play a Spade. I didn't, when I read that character, I was like, I know this guy because, whether you like him or not, I think that we can all see parts of ourselves in him. I certainly was Ace, like growing up, at times. And there's at the end of the day, he's just a child, and he's traumatized, and he's trying to figure out his life. And he's this interesting juxtaposition between this rock star mentality and this lost boy. That's why I loved him. But yeah, it's certainly hard to hang with him. You love to love him, but you love to hate him too, and that's, to me, that's the sign of a good character.
Yeah, one of the things I was enjoying about this, because I've never sort of struck me before, but you get the kind of wrestlers who come out and they are booed, they are the villain of the event, and they're essential to this whole kind of pantomime and this whole thing working. You have to have your heroes and your villains, but it makes you think it can't be that easy to come out and be booed, especially when you're kind of playing at an extension of yourself. Can you relate to that at all as an actor, playing characters who maybe aren't likable and knowing that people at home might watch them and go, I hate that guy? And it's never personal, but is that still something you kind of have to, is that a hurdle you have to overcome when you get into this profession?
It is, man. It really, really is. And it's such a good question. Nobody's ever asked that, but it's so true. Like, you got to get to your place. You have to get to a place where you can say fuck it. And it's scary how people get there, because some people become assholes to deal with it. Because imagine being in an industry where for years you're told no, because that's what happens, and you're not good enough, and everybody's always thinking that it has to do with their performance or something else, but really you're just not the guy for that role. It's that simple. But that's how you start. For years you need to develop your thick skin, and then you're playing a character that perhaps people don't like, and at the end of the day, it's important to remember you're not in this business to be a celebrity or to be liked. You're in this industry to be an actor and to tell stories that people care about. That is what matters to me. So really, I could care less now. But when I was a kid, yeah, that messes with you. You're growing up, and you're still trying to figure out who you are as a human. And you're, like Kato on the Hunger Games is a great example. You're 18, 19 years old, and you're just trying to do the best job you can for a role, and I think Ace is in that place. Even though he's more of an adult, inside he's still a teenager, just going he just wants to be loved,
Yeah. Yeah, because I wanted to tell me about, in regards to wrestlers, do you think it's almost an underappreciated craft when it comes to the entertainment side as well? Because not only are they incredible athletes, but when I was watching Heels, it really reminds you just how much performance it is as well.
It's remarkable, man. I can't tell you just from experience. Just I've always loved wrestling, and I wouldn't say that I watched it religiously, but I did love it when I watched it as a kid. But I have a newfound respect for the true athleticism that is in play with these guys. I mean, you're using and abusing your bodies day in and day out. And for Stephen and I, it was really important that we did right by the community and put in the work. If the one thing we wanted is for them to go, wow, these guys really, really did it. They put in the work for this.
Yeah, but you must have been conscious of how little they wear. They just parade around in pants. When you got this role, you must have thought, God, if I'm going to be a wrestler, I'm going to have to just spend a lot of time just walking around in just a pair of pants.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly didn't think, like, I definitely did not think it was going to be as painful and exhausting of an experience as it turns out to be. But the great things, the great athletes, the great performers of their time, they make it look effortless. And that's just it, is that to an audience member, it looks effortless, but when you do it, it's so much, it's anything but.
I mean, because obviously there was so much kind of training and sort of like physical scenes within the show. Did you pick up any injuries along the way?
I kind of got lucky. I came out relatively unscathed. I mean, I'll never forget when you're taking your first bumps. It's like you feel it the next day. Your back is just, you have to toughen up your bodies in ways that you're just not used to. But in hitting the ropes, getting used to that is, it's just painful. But luckily, I was okay. But Stephen broke his back on the show. It was shit happens, and it can happen, and it can be really scary. So we just want to make sure that everybody's safe while still portraying this authentically.
Yeah, I mean, that just sort of shows as well the level of commitment that Stephen puts in to his craft. What was he like to collaborate with on this program? Because he's a great actor. Yeah.
Incredible. Like it was, I always said that whoever played Jack was so important, and we don't have to be best friends, but they need to care as much as I do about doing a great job about the show. And Stephen is above and beyond that person. He cared so much about doing right by the community and putting in the work. And that also, he's just an awesome dude. So Stephen and I are brothers, man. Like I didn't expect that to be, on and off screen. I mean, I think that Stephen and I will be friends forever. And I couldn't ask for a better partner.
Yeah. There's
an element of trust, too, like when you're wrestling, that I didn't realize. And it's like, if you're wrestling somebody else and you're jumping off something, or they're supposed to suplex you off something, like you have to trust that guy is going to land you the right way, because you're not looking, you're not in control. Similarly, like as actors doing it, we still had to have that same trust in people. So that was a really interesting thing that I've never experienced before on a film set.
Yeah, I was going to say, because obviously you mentioned that you guys got on so well. Is that one of the great joys as well of TV, like when you do stuff in TV? Because obviously when you played like Bjorn in Vikings and stuff, which is a role you kind of return to time and time again over a number of years, you must feel so close to the character, but also to all the cast and crew that you work with over that time. I mean, it must be an incredible way to operate when you work on a TV series that kind of will go on for a few years.
It's fascinating. Our life it's a really fascinating, interesting life, and it can be lonely at times, but also like, because you have these really intense relationships on films where it's like 3 months and then you never see the person again. One thing that's amazing about television is exactly that, is that you really get to build this family that's consistent, and it's almost like going to college again or high school again. It's like, these people you see every day at work. And I hope that's the case with this, in success, it will be.
I mean, just going back just quickly, because I'm thinking about Vikings, you must be on the back of that. You're going to miss everyone from that, I guess, because obviously it was such a big part of your life and sort of has finished now. But is that something that you're? Because I was going to say that you will miss, but at the same time, is there a kind of sense of freedom that comes with the end of being on a long-lasting series? Like that, because I guess that for a certain amount of time every year, you've got to be sort of you've got to be around and available for a show. Is it something quite freeing, even if it is quite sad to say goodbye?
Yeah, and it's at times you don't want to come off. I don't want to come off as ungrateful, because Vikings was the greatest experience of my career. Period. Like Vikings, it changed everything for me. So unbelievably grateful for that show. But when I originally signed on to the show, it was 10 episode seasons in Ireland. So I would be gone probably no more than 6 months out of the year. The show was such a massive success that they extended the seasons to 20 episodes. So now, when I signed onto that show originally, I signed on with the assumption that I would be able to continue doing other parts and other roles. Whereas it became really, really hard to do that when you're shooting essentially 11 months out of the year.
Yeah.
So there was absolutely an element of thank God, because like as much as I love the character and love the show and love the crew and the cast, like I got to go home. You know, I was for 6 years of my life, I was in a country that was, you know, overseas and working consistently. So again, also one of the greatest experiences ever, but I think that it was the perfect time.
No, all good things must come to an end, and also it means good things can start, like heels. So it's always good. Well, thank you so much for your time today, and best of luck with the release of the show and stuff. And maybe we'll catch up again one day.
Thank you, Stefan. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks for the great questions.
Always take care. Bye-bye. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey, you guys.